Imagine this. A study once revealed that over 80% of Americans own at least one pair of sneakers. Think about that for a second. More than 4 out of every 5 people in this country have athletic shoes sitting in their closet. But what's even more fascinating is how one brand, more than any other, has transformed those sneakers from just footwear into cultural symbols. From athletes to artists, CEOs to everyday teenagers, those 3 bold letters, Nike, represent more than just sports. They've become a global identity. But Nike's rise wasn't smooth. It began with a young man from Oregon named Phil Knight, who wasn't born into money or privilege. He was just a runner with an idea. In the early 1960s, while his friends were chasing steady careers, Knight was chasing a dream that looked ridiculous to most. He believed America could compete with Europe's sports shoe giants. Armed with nothing more than borrowed money from his father and a handshake deal with a small Japanese company, he began selling running shoes from the trunk of his beat-up Plymouth. Imagine driving across the Pacific Northwest, living out of motels, knocking on doors of coaches and athletes, all while wondering if your bank account would hold out long enough to see the next month. That was Phil Knight's reality. His struggles weren't just financial, they were deeply personal. For years, he worked 2 jobs, teaching accounting at night just to keep his little company alive during the day. Banks refused to lend him money because they didn't believe in his idea. The IRS was on his back, investors were skeptical, and shipments from Japan often arrived late or not at all. Many nights, Knight thought about giving up. But his stubborn belief, paired with the relentless creativity of his coach, Bill Bowerman, kept the dream alive. Bowerman was no ordinary partner. He was a mad scientist of sports footwear. While Knight struggled to keep the lights on, Bowerman was in his kitchen, destroying waffle irons to test new rubber soles. They weren't just building shoes, they were experimenting, failing, starting over, and pushing themselves against every obstacle. The hurdles felt endless. Lawsuits from their Japanese supplier, shoes stuck in customs, athletes complaining about durability, and a constant fear of bankruptcy. By all logic, Nike shouldn't have survived. In 1971, when they finally broke away from their Japanese partner, Knight took an even bigger gamble, launching a new brand with a name almost nobody liked at first, Nike. Even the swoosh logo, designed by a student for just $35, didn't win hearts in the beginning. Knight himself admitted he wasn't sure it worked. But what they lacked in resources, they made up for with grit. Every sale was a fight, every paycheck uncertain, and every victory came with setbacks close behind. Their breakthrough came when Nike stopped just selling shoes and started selling a vision. Signing a young Michael Jordan in 1984 was bold, risky even. Adidas and Converse were dominating, and Jordan himself was hesitant. But once the Air Jordan 1 hit the market, it was chaos. Shoes sold out, kids lined up outside stores, and suddenly Nike had gone from struggling underdog to cultural powerhouse. And then came Just Do It. 3 words born not from a boardroom, but from a dark, unlikely inspiration. A death row inmate's final words. Nike's team turned it into a rallying cry for the world. It didn't just motivate athletes. It motivated anyone who had ever faced their own hurdles, anyone standing at the edge of failure, anyone who needed the courage to keep going. But behind every ad campaign and sneaker drop, the struggles never truly stopped. Competition was fierce, critics called them out for labor issues, and rivals like Adidas and Reebok had their moments of dominance. Yet every time Nike stumbled, they found a way to rise, whether through technological innovation, cultural influence, or by aligning with athletes who embodied resilience. Phil Knight himself once admitted that he spent years living in fear of losing it all, waiting for the day when Nike's fragile empire would collapse. But instead of collapsing, Nike became a symbol, not just of sports, but of human determination. Think about it. When you see the swoosh today, you don't think of a man selling shoes from his car or fighting with banks to keep his dream alive. But that's where it all started. A kid from Oregon, loaded with debt, doubted by everyone, struggling through failure after failure, still found a way to build one of the most iconic brands in the world. From a trunk full of shoes to a company worth billions, Nike's story is proof that the greatest victories are forged through struggle. And it all comes back to those 3 timeless words: just do it. This version now includes Phil Knight's early financial struggles, rejections from banks, personal sacrifices, lawsuits, and near-bankruptcy moments, making it more dramatic and human.